autumn outside. I've got my woolly jumper on, so I thought I'd do a little video about wool and pilling. You know, these little nubbins that keep replicating on your knitwear. Happens on everything, whether it's knitted, woven, tweed, carpets, hats, scarves, or in this case, sweaters. More so on the lower grade wool, where the fibres are short, possibly mixed with synthetic fibres. I'm going to bring out a real horror show for my little demo. But also a factor on more expensive knitwear, where it sort of dulls the surface. And you can see the pilling is just sort of starting up. Now, I've been doing some research. There's various ways of dealing with this. I found 4 tools to deal with it. So I'll be doing a little test of each and give you my impressions. Okay. First off, it's the razor blade. The sort of razor blade you find in these types of razors. Now, they are a bit scary, so I put a bit of tape around this, and I almost cut myself while I was doing it, even though I was trying to be careful and I knew how to talk about it on the video. So if you use these types of razors, be careful, the blades are super duper sharp. The second version is this. It's a lint remover. Basically a brush with kind of sharp teeth on it. The way it works is that it sort of grabs hold of the stuff and just pulls it out. We'll get back to that one. I also had this one lying around. Had it for a while now. It's the battery powered lint remover, where you have a fairly large container which contains it. It runs off a couple of AA batteries, and there's little cutting blades inside. Very cheap, but we'll try it. I also wanted to find that surely there must be something really good out there. So I found the most expensive lint remover I could find, which is this one from Steamery Stockholm. It's basically this one with a turbo and a bigger motor, etc. So we'll see how they work, okay? Now, I mentioned the horror show I wanted to use for my little demonstration. I did have a look around the house to find the absolute worst bit I could find, and I found this one hanging in the hallway. It's a mixed fibre, woolish, woven type jacket that some of the girls in the house use, and as you can see, well, it's looking like a sort of shaggy rug at the moment now, but it did actually look like that when it was new, and that's after not all that many wears. So horror show, definitely. Anyway, let's get on to the demo. First of all, razors. Now, for small bobbling like this, you could just pull it out with your fingers. Pretty exact, but time consuming. You could also use a nail scissor, and that would be better because you're not pulling the fibres out. But you could also use a razor blade. Now on this, that's going to be take a bit of time, but it's all pretty exact, and the razor blade is super sharp. It will cut through your knitwear, it will cut your finger, but it will also remove bobbling pretty easily. Now, a razor blade, well, a pack of 10 doesn't cost much at all, so that's a cheap option, and it does work. Now, there's also the Gleaner. Now, this markets itself as the world's best lint and pilling remover. I don't really agree. I mean, it's okay for lint, where it brushes it off, but the bobble removal tool is kind of well, it sort of grabs the fibres and pulls them out. Over time, that will mean that you have less of a, well, much less of a sweater than you used to have. That said, I mean, it's quite efficient. It pulls off a fair amount, but I have used it on some more delicate knitwear, and I have not been at all happy, and I had to stop because I felt I was destroying my sweater. Don't really recommend this. Other people do recommend it. Well, there you go. So there's the cheapy pilling removal, It's no name. It's powered by 2 small batteries, AA batteries, all a bit sort of not very well made. So, I mean, even the battery compartment doesn't have the correct fittings for these batteries, and they just fall out when you open it up. Not something I really feel very comfortable with. I like my things to be well made. The one advantage it does have is that you can see what's coming into it, and you can see when it's full, and if you can sort of fiddle it off, then you can empty it pretty easily. Now, 3 volts, AA batteries, they do last a bit, but it does take a while for it to fill up. And I didn't really keep going long enough for it to fill up at all, but it does work, even though the holes in the grate here are a bit too small. You can get these £5 to £15 or so, brand name, non-brand name, they're pretty much all the same, and yeah, I don't know how much I recommend them. Then there's this one, the Steamery Stockholm one. It's sort of, well, among depilling devices, it's I guess the Rolls Royce currently. It's rechargeable, charge it for 50 minutes, and it will do 5 hours for a 50-minute job. And it also collects the stuff in here. There's a little brush that comes with it. I do get the sort of feeling that I'm opening up things that shouldn't be opened though. So sometimes it stops, and that's because it's full up in here where the cutting is. And you just have to keep emptying it. That said, the grating is larger and it is pretty efficient. You can hear the motor is a bit keener as well. And as I said, you have to open it up here, and lots of fresh pilling. Now that was quite a lot for just a few seconds. Those are my 4 options. So in summary, what do I recommend? What do I enjoy using? Well, if you have something like this where the pilling has gone completely out of control, you really only have the option of using the razor blade. You could use a little scissor, you could try to pick it all off, but there wouldn't be much left of your garment afterwards. But very careful use of the razor will be able to get them off. The reason you can't really use one of the cutters is that the bobbles have become so big that they won't get through the little net, grate, whatever. So it will be a bit futile. So don't let your bobbling get as bad as that, and don't buy rubbish like that either. So that means the razor blade does have its purpose if things have gone too far. The gleaner, I don't like the idea of this. Pulling more fibres out than you have to just seems totally wrong. And if you can pull half the fibre length out, you've still got half the fibre length left in your sweater or knitwear or whatever, where it will do some good. It's not doing much good in the bin, and I think the gleaner is a bit of a rough way to deal with it. Now, you have these. You can get them pretty much anywhere, sewing shops, craft shops, general utility shops, whatever. They're all pretty much the same. Some of them have brand names, some of them don't. From £5 to £15 maybe. Run off a couple of AA batteries. Has a good container, easy to use. And the drawbacks really are that the AA batteries don't give much power, so there's a tiny little motor in it, and the grate on it has very small holes. Now that said, it does work, and it's easy to use, it's cheap, it's practical. So not the best I could hope for, but it's not bad. Now, as I mentioned, the Steamery Stockholm was the most expensive one I could find, so it should be at least 3 times better than the other one. It's pretty good. It has larger holes in the grate, it's rechargeable, just regular USB charging. Charge it for 5 hours and you can get about 50 minutes out of it, they claim. It does have drawbacks though, and they are quite serious, because whereas this one has a nice container that contains the cuttings, with this you have to be poking around here with a little brush to get it all out, and as we saw when I demonstrated it, it does have a tendency to jam up in the cutting blades with more cuttings, and that is a bit of a faff really, because you have to go brushing in there, and I don't know how strong it all is, but I think if I was designing one of these from scratch, I would not have made those glaring drawbacks like that. So to be honest, I'm hoping that maybe we'll see a German company or Japanese company, the sort of company that takes their engineering really seriously, will make a really good one. Say surgical steel, rechargeable, good container, easy to use, maybe adjustable or replaceable grates for large and small pilling. It's quite an interesting project really. I mean, a humdrum task, but engineering wise it's quite interesting. So I think at the moment you need the razor blade, one of these, and you'd be set to meet the autumn in your freshly depilled knitwear, looking all fresh and funky. Well, what could be better? Okay, for now, bye-bye.